Middleton. 3-point Milwaukee lead. First quarter, midway through the opening stanza on a triple header day on ABC.
Nowhere close to being a good team, and that showed.
No question. Oubre with an excellent defensive play. Drives on Giannis. Offensive foul is called against Oubre. That is 2
An opportunity to dribble to the basket like he did. There was no need to take the three because there was an alley to go to the rim.
Excellent defensive play by Chris on one end, then on the other.
What about Holiday? Loves to go, spin, come off the break, and shoot with that left hand.
Chris up top, way off on the three.
I don't know. Somebody should whisper to him. Now look, it's okay, Wiseman. Wiseman's been making them in game one. Let's not go outside of your distance here.
The Golden State Warriors finally got a very much needed reality check about their future and their core. And that's not to say that this wasn't to be expected, because at the time of this video, they've only faced 2 opponents, and these 2 opponents could, without a doubt, make up the top of the Eastern Conference in the Brooklyn Nets and the Milwaukee Bucks. And although a lot of us like to be optimistic with the return of Steph Curry, the drafting of promising Memphis center James Wiseman at the number 2 overall spot, the addition of Kelly Oubre, and once again falling for Andrew Wiggins potentially being a breakout star on a brand new team, it seems as though it's time that we become very real with the expectations that we have for the Golden State Warriors this season and expose the problems that they have. So what's going on, guys? Your boy Mike here. Guys, before we get to the content, I just want to let you guys know we're giving away a PlayStation 5 to someone that subscribes and turns on our notifications. If you want additional entries, follow us on Twitter and on Instagram as well. Now that we got all that out of the way, cue the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Guys, the Golden State Warriors' first 2 games of this NBA season didn't necessarily go as planned. And from the very top to the very bottom, there's issues with the entire makeup of this roster. Now, that's not to say it isn't salvageable, because you have to also bear in mind that before we jump into this video, we're only 2 games into the season. And with a brand new roster comes a bunch of brand new challenges that a brand new made-up roster has to face. For example, the additions of Kelly Oubre Jr. and James Wiseman. When you look at Kelly Oubre Jr., this is a player that the Golden State Warriors literally acquired 40 days ago, and he hasn't played basketball in almost 10 months. So as great of an addition Kelly Oubre Jr. is, there are some cobwebs that my man has to shake off. He definitely is a little bit rusty, and unfortunately for the Golden State Warriors, between him, Andrew Wiggins, and James Wiseman, those 3 players are the most important players for the Golden State Warriors this season, because based off of the way they play and the way they're integrated into the Golden State Warriors offense, that'll determine how much success Steph Curry will have or will not have. But even Steph Curry throughout the first 2 games of this season has been absolutely atrocious. To give you an idea how bad Curry's been so far, he's only made 2 3-pointers in 2 games so far this season. He's shooting 34% from the field combined throughout his first 2 games. And this isn't me saying that, hey, the Golden State Warriors are unsalvageable, but there are some huge issues at the surface that needs to be fixed that we need to address. The first thing is Steve Kerr, a head coach that I personally have always loved and always respected. A lot of people like to hate on Steve Kerr and say that he always just had this gifted roster that he didn't really need to tinker with much. But the fact of the matter is, when Steve Kerr came onto the Golden State Warriors in 2015, he made a fundamental shift into small ball that resulted in the Golden State Warriors becoming a legitimate dynasty, something that Mark Jackson, their previous head coach, couldn't do. And the one thing I commended Steve Kerr for doing was the fact that he was able to adjust his game plan to various players. Once he won his NBA championship in 2015 by shifting Andre Iguodala to a bench player and starting Draymond Green over him, I began to think that this is a head coach that is very capable of adapting to various situations and various scenarios. And once again, he did that when the Golden State Warriors were able to acquire Kevin Durant, but I don't really necessarily think that was as much of a challenge as, say, the situation he is now, because this is a true test of a head coach. You see, in my opinion, the Golden State Warriors run through 3 players. That's Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. And although I feel like you could survive if Draymond Green was to go down for a couple of games, although it's not necessarily ideal, when you lose either Steph Curry or Klay Thompson, those 2 players are what keeps the opposing defenses honest with their ability to absolutely obliterate opposing teams from the 3-point line and the perimeter. Well, that's when things begin to become a little troubling. And we saw that last year when the Golden State Warriors acquired D'Angelo Russell to try to fill the void that Klay Thompson left. And although we didn't get an opportunity to see the Steph Curry and D'Angelo Russell experiment fully pan out, in the very beginning, it didn't really get off to the most promising of starts, even before Steph Curry broke his hand. The Golden State Warriors clearly saw enough and decided to move on from D'Angelo Russell and traded him for Andrew Wiggins to the team that D'Angelo Russell was planning on signing with prior to signing with the Golden State Warriors anyway. And in came Andrew Wiggins, and honestly, I'm a huge fan of the Andrew Wiggins trade. It was clearly made to prepare for the return of Klay Thompson, and I personally felt like he'd be in a great situation here with Klay Thompson and Steph Curry shooting the 3-point shot as prolifically as they typically do. Andrew Wiggins would have wide open slashing lanes to do what he does best. Slash to the basket for easy contact dunks and contact layups, which is what he's pretty much meant to do. That's literally why Andrew Wiggins was drafted. But everything went to crap once Klay Thompson tore his Achilles once again. Now, I have to commend the Golden State Warriors for something here. They found out the day before the NBA draft that he tore his Achilles, and they didn't flinch when it came time to select their player. They drafted James Wiseman over LaMelo Ball, and so far, that seems to have been the right pick. Not anything against LaMelo Ball, but I feel like as LaMelo Ball developed and once he was fully ready, the Golden State Warriors would get Klay Thompson back. And they shifted to plan B. They traded for Kelly Oubre Jr., but here's the thing. Klay Thompson is absolutely irreplaceable. When you have 2 of the best 3-point shooters on one team, there's absolutely nothing you could do to replace one of them when they go down to injury. So let me tell you exactly what I'm talking about here. Over here, we see an example of Steve Kerr's play design. It's a fantastic play design. He's able to run a pick and pop with Steph Curry, and the entire defense is focused on Steph. No one is looking at Marquise Chris in the corner. Steph Curry makes the right play by getting the ball to Marquise Chris's hands, but Marquise Chris isn't that capable of a 3-point shooter. Luckily for him, it's the beginning of the season, and Drew Holiday bites on this pump fake that he delivers, and then he's able to drive straight to the basket for an easy dunk. But you see, as the season goes on, more and more teams are going to understand that, hey, Marquise Chris can't necessarily make that shot. And Steve Kerr hasn't necessarily created a brand new offense around his new players. Normally, that would be Klay Thompson or Draymond Green in that corner, who would make them pay for leaving him open for 3, or Draymond Green would drive and dish to get a 3. We see that happen a little bit later on in the game as well, as Marquise Chris once again has a wide open 3 and can't help but take it, and the result is a air ball. You even hear the announcers say that that isn't even in his game and he shouldn't be taking shots like that. But that's how Steve Kerr's play design works. He puts Marquise Chris in a situation to take a wide open 3. Now the Golden State Warriors have this issue where teams know what they're going to try to do with Steph Curry. They're going to focus a little bit more on Steph Curry on the perimeter. They're not really going to be as nervous about Kelly Oubre Jr. getting 3-point jumpers. You're not going to see Kelly Oubre Jr. flying through screens the way Klay Thompson and Steph Curry do either. But Steve Kerr is using Kelly Oubre Jr. like that player. As DF Gaming said on Twitter, Steve Kerr is running the same offense as if the Warriors still have Klay and KD. He needs to let Curry play on ball and handle the offense. There should still be off ball for Curry, but let Steph make plays for Kelly Oubre and Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins has once again gone on to do disappearing acts right when the teams that he plays for need him the most. So far, he's averaged 12.5 points per game. He's only made 1 3-pointer. He's shooting 29% from the field in 28 minutes played. To give you an idea, in his 2 games, he's 5 of 17 for the entire year so far. And then we get to Kelly Oubre Jr., who's like a new level of bad. He shot 17% from the field throughout 2 games played so far, averaging 4.5 points per game. No, I'm not even joking. This is supposed to be a major part of their team. Steph Curry came out and said at the end of the game that the Golden State Warriors need to win immediately. But I don't think that's what the Golden State Warriors need to do. Rather, I feel like the main issue here is the proper integration of Kelly Oubre Jr. and Andrew Wiggins into the Golden State Warriors offense. Now, when you look at James Wiseman, however, there is a lot of promise there. There's a tremendous amount of potential there, and I feel like he fits into this Golden State Warriors offense absolutely seamlessly. I saw many scenarios where James Wiseman set a screen, and as opposed to rolling to the basket, he was able to pop out to the 3-point line and sink the wide open 3, something that is absolutely valuable in this Golden State Warriors offense. He gives the Golden State Warriors a tremendous lob threat as well, and even Steve Kerr went out to praise him after his game. And this is with Wiseman saying that he needs to still get his conditioning up in order to really scratch the surface of his potential. In Wiseman's debut, he had 19 points in his first NBA game in just 24 minutes, and I understand most of those came in garbage time, but after watching other rookies play so far this year, that is absolutely commendable, and I don't think there's been a better fit for a top 5 pick in the NBA draft this year than James Wiseman and the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors are probably not going to contend this year. At least from what I'm seeing earlier on, their ceiling is possibly a 7th seed in the West, and I believe that they can potentially secure another top 5 NBA draft pick this year, which sucks because whenever you see a player like Steph Curry on a roster, you definitely want to do as much as you can to put him in a situation to contend for a couple more championships because the clock is ticking on his prime. But the reality is, when you're missing literally 50% of your offense in Klay Thompson and literally a focal point of how you run your offense in Klay Thompson, that leaves Steph Curry significantly more vulnerable, and I truly don't believe he could do it without Klay. And it's nothing against Steph Curry. I think he's a remarkable player, but that's just way too much pressure on him and way too much for him to overcome this season. Nevertheless, I do believe using a year to focus on James Wiseman and Kelly Oubre, and I don't know, if you really want to focus on Andrew Wiggins' development as well, then fine. I believe spending a year to do that would be fantastic for the Golden State Warriors once again, because once they do get Klay Thompson back, I believe this is one of the most deepest teams in the entire Western Conference. However, for now, they need to focus more on developing their young players and integrate their brand new players into their offense effectively. So far, based off of what I'm seeing from Kelly Oubre and Andrew Wiggins and even Steph Curry, that's not necessarily what's going on. But knowing the Golden State Warriors, it's only a matter of time before they figure it out. And who knows, maybe they will prove me wrong. After all, it's only been 2 games. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think about the Golden State Warriors? Is there a problem that occurred to your head that I didn't mention in this video? I'm your boy, TheFlightMike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.